Good Monday morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with a daily technical update. It is the 14th of October and we'll have a look at Tesla to begin with. That got hammered Friday, and closed about 6% lower after some news about self-driven taxis. Market didn't like that much. So it tested the lower part of the cloud. But what is more important is that it actually closed well below 234 and a quarter key support. It tested it the Thursday there, and Friday it dropped below and well below. Stopped closed just also above the 100 moving average, and it gives a little bit of hope. But if we're looking at the RSI, we can see it's actually below 40. It closed below 40 Friday. So I think we will, over the next couple of days, possibly this week, seeing a Tesla testing 202.5 support. This is also where the 200 moving average is. It's really not easy to see with these lines, but it's actually around where 200 moving average is. So I think we will see a sell-off down to around that and level, and maybe then a little bit of a bounce. However, if we're looking at the weekly chart, we can see here that the weekly chart is actually showing an interesting development. Once again, it was rejected at this resistance here, just around 265, and could possibly trade lower in the coming weeks, and could drop all the way down to 184 and a quarter if it takes out at 202.5 and also 198.87 minor support. But there's further risk down if it takes out 184.25 to the 167.75 and maybe even lower, but that will require we see the RSI dropping below 40. But let's see if we get there. But a little short term, it looks fairly bearish. To reverse this picture, well, it really needs to close above 239.20. On the overall index S&P 500, that pushed higher Friday and actually moved back above 5,800. There's room up to around 5860, which is just 200% of this little correction here. And I think we could see that despite there being divergence, we are a little bit stretched here short term, but as long as we stay above 5,674, it looks fairly strong support. Let's look at a weekly. There's divergence, as you can see here. The RSI is not supporting the uptrend, but still, trust the trend, and the trend is your friend, and for now it is bullish. The Nasdaq 100, well, it closed only slightly higher Friday, and it's basically been unchanged for the past last 3 days of last week. But we are above 20,000, and I think we will see it pushing higher towards previous all-time high around 20,675. But if it starts sliding back below 20,000, and the support here at 19,622 could come under pressure. EUROSTOXX 50 closed yesterday just above 5,000, and I think we'll see a push towards 5,075 here in the coming days, as long as we stay above 4,943, then and the lower falling trend line there. I think we could see a push towards that, especially also if we see RSI closing back above 60 threshold. Well, then there could be further upside in the cards. The future is not really telling us much. It's just around 5,000, just a little bit below 5,000, and it really needs to push above 60 threshold back again. The DAX index, well, very strong close to the week last week. Reached this 786 retracement at 19,368. I think we'll see it pushing higher here in the coming days. We are above the RSI threshold, meaning the positive sentiment is confirmed. If it can move also back above the trend line here at 69.32, well, then I think we were likely to see higher levels on DAX, taking out at the end of September peak. The AX Amsterdam index, well, it's still keeping itself above 908 support. Still not a positive sentiment, but if it closes above 60 threshold, then I think we'll see a push towards 927 resistance. And I think we could see that this coming week, but if it does close back below 908, it could come under pressure down to around 900 or 896. The CAC 40 index still holding it up on above 7,600 and 7,464, and that is crucial. If it can get back above 77.25, then I think there's potential up to 7,900. But this support here is crucial for CAC 40. The Swiss market, back above 12,120. It is just a minor resistance, not a strong one is here up here at 12,250, and we need the RSI to close above 60 threshold for further upside potential. Euro dollar is fairly heavy at the moment, and I think it's fair to say we can remove this Fibonacci there, support at 108.80 and the 200 moving average, and it is likely to be tested possibly this Monday or Tuesday. If it does close below, well, then there is a further potential down to, and let's just add that trend line there, support line, then there's further potential down to around 107.75.80, just around the 108 if it does close below here. The RSI is a negative sentiment, so we are likely to see lower levels and at least a pressure to 108.80 support. The Euro sterling sliding slowly lower towards the 83.40, unless it moves back above 84.05 and push up to previous peaks here. I don't think we'll see that because we have the 100 coming down, we have the 55 moving coming down, and we have the 200 daily moving average coming down. So the underlying sentiment is bearish, and they will put a pressure on Euro sterling. Cable, on the other hand, is trying to find some support here around 130. It could be tested, but RSI is still above the 40 threshold, so we are still in a positive sentiment despite having divergence. If we do close below 130, well, then we could see a push lower to test the 100 moving average here at 129.47, around that level. It is fairly likely. Otherwise, we could see a bounce up to 131.75 level, which is the 38.2 retracement as a minimum. On the yen pairs, well, dollar yen, in general, they haven't done much, but dollar yen is testing once again 149.40, key resistance, RSI in a positive sentiment, so we could see a push higher towards 151.85, maybe even up to 153, but the 100 moving average coming down here, and the 200 will be kind of putting a lid on it, so that will give it a bit of a downside pressure. So it will be a struggle to get up there, I believe. If it moves back below 147.20, well, then downtrend is likely to resume. So a little bit frustrating, no clear signals at the moment, other than we are in a bullish trend. The euro yen are sideways, 164 key resistance. And it really needs to close above 60 threshold on the RSI. It's testing it, as we can see here several times. But those two in combination will give it energy to push it higher towards 167.5 to 168. But it will be a struggle. We have the 200 coming here, and we also have the 100 coming down here, and the cloud area. So it could be maybe a spike up and then a collapse. If it moves back below 161, well, then downtrend is set to resume. Aussie yen also sideways. It is in a bullish trend slightly, positive sentiment. There is potential up to 101.77, 102.05 around this level here. But again, if it also takes out 98, downtrend is likely to be confirmed. And first indication of that scenario to play out if it takes out 99. And finally, the sterling yen, well, also really caught in a sideways range between 196 and 193.5. Breakout of 196, well, then there's potential up to 199.5, 200. If it moves back below Aussie dollar bouncing from the 100 moving average just above the 55 moving average just above the 100, and the 786 retracement. If it moves back above the 68, then I think we'll see an uptrend to resume. And what we can do, it will give you an idea. If we add a Fibonacci to that, we can also see that the 61.8 sorry, I'm babbling here. 38.2 is just around the 61.8 retracement here, at 68. So that's key level to break. If it closes above 68, then I think we'll see a further upside potential towards 68.50 and 68.69 level. If it takes out the lows here from a couple of days ago, which is just around 67, well, then we could see a sell-off further down to 66.40. The dollar Canada pushing higher. No divergence on the RSI. RSI is actually supporting higher levels. We could see a minor correction, but there is room up to the 176.4 projection at 138.20 and maybe even higher. So really strong, but you can see this is like a double bottom pattern. It actually gives that potential up to maybe even 138.75. Sterling Canada, not really much to report other than stays above the rising trend line here, which is a good signal or sign if you're long sterling Canada. If it moves back below again, well, the 176.80 key support could come under pressure. The Swiss pairs, well, your Swiss still in this triangle-like pattern, testing the lower rising trend line. A break below could take out the 93 key support, and if it does that, well, then I think we'll see it down to around 92. If it bounces, well, then there's some overhead resistance. We also have the 55 moving average coming down there. A bearish trend resuming will be confirmed if RSI closing below 60 threshold. Dollar Swiss, well, dollar Swiss is more or less trading sideways, but if it takes out the little peak here at 86.20, I would always add a little bit of pips there. At the 61.8 retracement, then I think we will see it pushing towards the 86.70 and maybe even all the way up to around 87.30. If it moves back below, and this little, I will actually move this one because that gives me a little bit of indication, a stronger indication. If it moves back below 85.30, then I think a downtrend will resume down to around 84. And finally, the dollar index. Well, the dollar index is stalling a little bit, but I think we could test the 103, maybe even 103.36 here the next couple of days. But then we have the 100 moving average that is kind of giving a little bit of a resistance just around the 103 one. There's no divergence on the RSI indicating we're likely to see a higher levels, but it is also a bit stretched, so a little bit of correction could also be expected. If it moves below, and I think I will actually draw a little bit of a horizontal line there just to give an indication. If it takes out 102.05, well, then I think downtrend will resume for the dollar index. Gold, and let me just zoom in quite a bit here because it's getting a little bit tight, as we can see. Well, first of all, just to recap, we had the gold spot just above 2600 and the 61.8 retracement, and just above the lower rising trend line before we got a bounce higher. And I think if we just add Fibonacci to that and just add the 61.8 and 786, you can see we're just trading around the 61.8 retracement and could push higher. There's no divergence on the RSI, and RSI back above 60 threshold. I think we will see the gold spot pushing higher towards 161.8 at 27.36, maybe even higher here in the coming days and weeks. However, if it takes out 2600, well, then we have a different situation, and then we are in a bearish trend all of a sudden. The silver spot can't really make its mind up. It did bounce late last week, opening lower today, but trying to regain lost ground. And if it takes out the peak of Friday's trading, then I think we will see a push higher towards 32.70 again, and possibly higher. If it takes out, and I think I will actually move this one down here, if it takes out 30 spot 12, so I say 30 spot 10, then I think we'll see a sell-off down to around 29.20. And the copper really looks a little bit similar to the silver, but if it takes out 450, well, then I think we'll see a push higher towards the strong resistance around 468, 470, and possibly higher. But if it takes out the lows from last week, well, then expect the push down to 432. Oil. A couple of calm days, or at least one calm day Friday, and today we have started a little bit lower. We could be caught here on the WTI future range bound, and what I will do, I will actually say, okay, the range could actually be between 78.5, and it could be between down to, it could be down to the spike down here. I mean, breakout of that, really, I know it's a really wide range, down to 71.50, but that's what we have at the moment with this massive volatility we saw last week. However, RSI in a positive sentiment, and if it starts moving above a 60 threshold again, then I think we'll see a push for taking out the resistance here around 77.60, 78.46, with a push towards the 82 and 84. But if it starts moving lower here and taking out 71.50, well, the downtrend has resumed, and more or less the same picture on Brent, of course. Positive sentiment, and there's no divergence, indicating that we're likely to see higher levels on, there's a good chance of seeing higher levels on oil, but it really needs to take out 81.58 to the upside for really confirming that, and we need the RSI also back above 60 threshold. If it takes out, and I will just move this one down here, if it takes out the 74.90, oh, sorry, that was not placed correctly, sorry about that. If it takes out 75.15, well, then downtrend is back in play. And let's have a look at the US 10-year Treasury yields. And we could see, it could be, this is just to show there could be short-term peak or top in place, but there's still room up to 414 resistance at the 786 retracement also of this wedge-like pattern here. So it is a little bit up in there. There's no divergence on the RSI, which is showing bullish, is a positive sentiment, indicating we're likely to see higher levels. But I've just added this Fibonacci here, just to indicate we could see a correction down to 401, maybe even all the way down to 392 before next push up. So it's a little bit up in the air, or we could see a push up to 414 before we see a correction, and then these levels will be a little bit different. But we are in a bullish trend and are likely to see higher yields. Same picture on the, or almost similar picture on the 2-year. Well, spiked to 4%, almost spot on, just below resistance there at 406. I think we'll see a correction down to the 38.2 retracement at 380, and then I think we will see it bouncing back and try to test 4% again. Positive sentiment, no divergence, indicating likely higher levels on the 2-year Treasury yields. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day, and talk to you again tomorrow.